Hello everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday night live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. Thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Whether it's on the live or the replay, so happy that you could join me. Let's go ahead and see who's on. See if we can get this up and going. There we go. Make sure my volume's off so we don't get an echo. And go ahead and comment and let me know when you're here. And if you're new to my channel, please let us know that you're new and where you're from. I'd really appreciate that. All right. So tonight we're going to be using the Lucky Clover stamp set. And one of our projects will use the punch, but this punch is sold out already, and this image is the one that it punches, and it is very easy to fussy cut, so we're going to go ahead and give that a try. Hello Tracy, hello Laura, hello Jennifer. So glad you could come tonight. For those of you who aren't aware, the online exclusives went live tonight. I have posted a link in the description of this video. And when you go to the stampinup.com, there is a drop-down menu and you can go there to shop products and then click on the online exclusives and that will show you what is available. All right, we are going to go ahead and jump right in and get started. I have a card for you tonight. I have a treat box, and if we get through those quickly, I've prepared a second treat box that I've done most of the work ahead of time on. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in and get started and get that going. So the first thing we need for our project is we're going to be using two ink colors, Soft Seafoam and Shaded Spruce. Okay, and then we've got a thick basic white card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to go ahead and burnish that, and then we'll set it aside because it will be ready for the next step. Okay, then we've got a piece of basic white, and this is cut at 3 3/4 by 5. Let me double check that. Nope, 3.5 by 4.5. 4 3/4. 3.5 by 4 3/4. All right. Then I had a bunch of leftover strips of Shaded Spruce, and these are 1/2 inch, and I made them these truly are scraps, just cut them wide enough to fit across your card. And then we've got, and you're going to need 5 of those, and then we've got some Soft Seafoam strips, just scraps. Just take a scrap, and as long as they're wide enough to go across your card base, you're good. So let's bring in our silicone mat here. I'm going to get some liquid glue. And I'm going to start this with Soft Seafoam. And I'm just going to put some liquid glue right along the top of this. Just like so. And then I'm going to take my Soft Seafoam, and I need a piece of grid paper because I want this to be straight. So let me grab my grid paper, and I'm just going to use the small grid paper. This is actually sized to fit our Stamparatus, but it is my favorite size of grid paper. So I'm just going to lay this down, and I'm doing this just so my first strip is straight, because I'm going to actually bring this first strip off of the page. or off of the card. And I want it to be straight. So I'm just going to line it up along those grid lines. And I'm going to give that a good press so that adheres. Okay, I did about halfway. And then I can set this aside because I don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to take more liquid glue. And I'm going to go with Shaded Spruce. And I'm going to butt that right up next to my soft sea foam, making sure that I cover the card layer completely. And then we're going to grab another soft sea foam. And I'm going to lay that up right next to the Shaded Spruce again. Give that a good press. I want to make sure that when I am doing that, I everything is nice and flat. I don't want one up any higher than the other, and you'll see why in a minute. Let's get these on here. We're going to do some stamping over this, and if we have too much, if our surface isn't flat, then it won't stamp well. So we're just going to keep layering. I love these two colors together. They're really quite striking. Okay, almost there. Nice smooth surface, that's what I'm looking for. Uh-oh. Oh no. And for a minute I thought I was running out of strips. But I'm not. I should be good. Okay, so we're almost done there. All right. And there we are. Okay. So now we're just going to take our scissors. Actually, with this, no, it won't work. I can't do that yet. Then take my scissors and I'm going to cut off this top. I cut that right next to my paper, to my white. Okay, now I've got a nice flat surface there. Now I'm going to bring in my mini trimmer here. And I'm going to put this at the top. You could do this with your, I'm going to line that right up at the edge. And then I'm going to give that a cut. Oh, what did I do? Apparently I didn't line it up with the white. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's try that again. I don't know what I just did. I need to line it up with the white here and cut. And then I'm going to line it up with the white here, cut again, get a nice smooth edge, and I'm going to do that one more time, just like so. Okay. And I have a little piece left in here that won't let me close this. Okay. I'll get rid of those scraps, which of course are going to stick to my silicone mat. All right, let's get that. Okay, So now this is our piece. So to this, we're going to bring in the spattering of clovers here. We're going to take the shaded spruce, and I am just going to grab my paper, my grid paper here. So we're going to do an all over. Now you need to make sure when you do this that you give it good even pressure and hold it for a second, because you are crossing all of those different strips of paper. And we're just going to randomly stamp this image all over our background. Hello, Lynette. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for joining me. Tracy, I'm glad. I love these. These colors are just so striking together. I just really like them. Of course, I don't think there is a color that soft seafoam really doesn't look well with. Okay. Almost done here. And then I'm going to go back and I'm just going to look at my edges. So I want this to look like a random pattern where everything just jumps off the page. And so I'm just going to look to see where I might need another image. And I think, let's see, one more up here. All right, there we go. I'm happy with that. So now we're going to take some basic white, just a scrap here. I want this bigger scrap. And we're going to take the larger, that large image, and we're going to stamp this twice. We're going to stamp it once in soft seafoam. So I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to take a look at my punch to make sure that I'm going to have an easy time of punching this out. So I've got the soft seafoam. Now really, I'm just going to take this and put it on my grid paper. And without fully cleaning it, because I'm going into the darker shaded spruce, I'm just going to ink that up with the shaded spruce without cleaning. All right, there we go. So we've got that. I'm going to let that dry for just a second. And on this other scrap, I'm going to take along the bottom edge, I'm going to take the Happy St. Patrick's Day sentiment. And I'm going to ink that up. Shaded spruce. And I'm just going to stamp this along the bottom. Just like so. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to punch this with my punch. I'm going to line that up. When I have it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and press it halfway. And then I'm going to give that a good solid punch. I've got that one. Turn this around and I'm going to repeat that with my shaded spruce. Just lining that up, making sure that my stem and my top up here have about the same distance around. Okay, so I've got those two pieces. And then we're going to take our trimmer and we're going to trim out our sentiment. Oops, sorry. And then we can start putting our card together. Okay, so I'm just going to take and put this in my track, and I'm just going to line my cutting track up just above my letters, and I can see where that is in the track. I want to make sure I'm not cutting anything off. And then I've got my sentiment end, and then I'm just going to fussy cut the ends off a little bit. I'm just going to cut straight up both ends, and now our sentiment is ready to go. And we are ready to finish putting our card together. This is a quick card. So we're going to go ahead and add this piece to our card base. If your Stampin' Seal gets stuck, just start it again on your silicone mat. And then we're going to add this. Going to take and add our 2 clovers here with Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay, then I'm just going to put my fingernail in the center so I can quickly peel those off. And then we're going to add this one. I'm going to put this one on the top, the soft sea foam. I'm going to put the shaded spruce on the bottom right. And then I'm going to add Stampin' Dimensionals to my sentiment. I needed to do that differently. Let's see if I could peel those back up. Nope, that's okay. We're just going to trim them. I should have put the flat sides to the edge. You should always do that when you have a narrow strip. Put the flat side of the dimensional to the edge, not the pointy edge. They fit better. All right. So now we can just lay this right down in here at an angle. And that, my friends, is a quick card. Okay, for the inside of that card, I've taken the large clover and stamped it in soft sea foam, and then Sending Luck and Love, which is also from the Clover stamp set, along with those clovers again. And we're just going to lay this in the inside. And actually, I was going to put that on a piece of shaded spruce, so let's grab a little piece here, which I didn't pre-cut. So we need to make that. That's 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So we are going to cut 3. I'm going to cut 3 inches by 4 1/2. And that should give us the perfect border. Okay. Whoops, I just dropped all my Stampin' Dimensionals. That's okay, we'll pick those up in a minute. This is the side I didn't like. All right, so we've got that. And then we're just going to add this to the inside of our card. Stubborn. If I pull my wrist like I'm supposed to, I wouldn't have those issues. All right. So there it is. The first project. Pretty quick and easy. So we've got this, and then our envelope. What did I do with that? I knocked it off on the floor. Here is our matching envelope. I've taken that Clover again in the soft seafoam and stamped the sentiment from that set. A good friend is like a 4-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. An oh so true statement. All right. So there is project number 1 finished. I hope you like that. Aw, thanks, ladies. I do love the punch, Lynette, but unfortunately that punch sold out pretty quickly. So, oops, I forgot to get this wet again tonight. Okay, well, it's semi-wet. It'll work. Turn it over for that darker color. Actually, we can wet that with the Stampin' Mist. Okay, so there we are for that one. Let's move on to our 3D project. Okay, set these things out of our way. I'm not going too far with those inks because we will be using those again. All right. So this project, I did want to show you. I did make a second card just to show you. And here is that second card just for some more ideas. This card uses the Tea Boutique paper, and I've done them in garden green, these shamrocks in garden green and in granny apple green. And then I added in one of the friendly gnomes and then did that sending luck and love. And these are the 22 to 24 in color deco dots, matte deco dots. Okay, so there's that one. Just another idea for a card for you. Let's set those aside. And we will start our next project. I'm going to go ahead and show you this project right from the start. This is the box that we're going to be making. And this features the Lucky Clover stamp set along with the Country Wreaths dies. Okay? So, we're going to pull out our pieces. Now I've already cut from the Country Wreaths dies in soft seafoam. I cut this die and I cut this die, and that's all we're using from those wreath dies. Okay, so you'll need one of each in soft seafoam. And this one die I want to show you, when it cuts, you can lift these edges to give a 3D effect just by popping your nail underneath. You can raise those up just to give a little depth. Okay, doesn't take a lot. It cuts really nicely. I've cut quite a few of these. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to take this piece, and going to grab our blending brush. Let me pop that out. Right there, that one's being a little stubborn. It's cut, just doesn't want to go anywhere. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to take our blending brush and soft seafoam ink. This is soft seafoam cardstock. And I'm using my mini brush. And I'm just going to hold on to this nice and tight. And I'm going to ink blend some soft seafoam on there just to darken this image up so that it will stand out a little bit from the other soft seafoam wreath. And you can make this as light or as dark as you like. My recommendation though is to put your fingers on both sides of where you're blending, because this is a delicate piece. Okay, so now we've got that piece and we're going to add this to our other image. And I'm going to do that with my handy dandy little fine tip glue bottle and Tombow multi-purpose adhesive. And I'm just going to put some little dots here. I probably need to fill this thing. I'm getting, oh, there we go. And I'm just going to dab here and there in those whiter areas. Now you could cut this with an adhesive sheet, but I didn't want it to be fully adhered. I want the leaves to have movement. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And then I'm just going to make sure that those leaves don't line up and give that a press. And I'm going to take a block. I'm going to set that on there and I'm going to set that aside so that those adhere. Then on a scrap piece of white, I need to stamp 2 of these single clovers. I just need 2. And these don't have anything, you'll have to fussy cut them, because the punch that goes along with this bundle is just that one large punch. So you'll have to fussy cut those. They're not that hard. Save us some time. I've already done that. Assuming I didn't lose them. Oh, I couldn't lose them because they're in here. Huh. Good for me. Okay, so we've got those. Then I've added some gold foil. I took a 3/8 inch punch, and we don't sell these, but you can find them in a craft store or online. And I punched 3 little gold circles. And then I took the Hive embossing folder, and you don't even need the die cut machine for this. Just take your gold pieces and put them in here with your fingers. Close this up and give it a press right on those gold dots, and it will emboss those pieces for you. No die cut machine required. Pretty cool, huh? Just give them a good hard press with your thumb and you will get that. Okay, so now we are ready for to put this together. Oh, wait a minute. You also need to cut from the cottage wreath dies. I'm sorry, I forgot. You need to cut the bow. And that's this bow right here. There's actually an outline bow here, and then this detailed bow here, and that's what I've cut, again in white. Try to do some of that stuff ahead of time to save us some time. And then we're going to take the scattered clover again. And this time I'm going to be a little bit less random. I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to give that a good press there. I'm going to move over to the other side. And I'm going to turn that upside down, and I'm going to give that a good press on that. I'm using just these two on the end mostly. And this, for this one, I'm just going to ink up that one on the end. Put that in the center. I'm going to ink these up. And turn the stamp and ink those two up. And I want just a little bit more here at the end, so I'm going to add that like so. So just keep turning your stamp and adding where you want. I got a little bit of a smudge there, so I'm going to add another clover there and no one will know. Okay, so our bow is now ready. Let's set that up here. Go ahead and bring back in our silicone mat so we can glue our pieces on. Again, we're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals, but this time we're going to use the minis. Okay, so we're going to put our two little shamrocks here, turn those upside down, and we're going to put our little gold coins. And we're going to add one mini to the center of each of those. And then on the wreath, I'm going to add one on either side of the middle there. And then I'm going to add this to the top of my wreath here in the center. And then I'm going to add my two shamrocks. Kind of to the side here and here. And then we're going to add our gold coins. Okay. Just going to put this one down in the bottom center. This one up here. And there is the decoration for the top of our box. Okay. And we'll be adding this to this piece of Designer Series paper, but we're going to wait on that because I'm going to put this paper on the box first. So let's go ahead and put our box together. Before we do that, let's go ahead and stamp for the back of our box. We're going to do this. So we're going to take the Lucky Clover, which I cleaned, and we're going to stamp this in soft seafoam. Let's make sure we don't have any ink on there because I don't want to put shaded spruce in my soft seafoam. So I'm going to give that a good ink. And I'm going to take this square, which is, I believe, 2.5 by 2.5. And that is correct. It's a 2.5-inch square. And I'm going to put this on here like so. And then I'm going to take the sentiment, a good friend is like a 4-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. And I'm going to ink that up in shaded spruce. And then I'm going to stamp that right in the middle of my clover. Perfect. Okay. So now we have all of the pieces to decorate our box. Let's make that box. We're going to start with a piece of shaded spruce, And this piece is 5.5 by 8 inches. Here is our template. I'm going to take the Simply Scored tool, and we're going to place this on the 8-inch side. It's 5 1/4 by 8 inches, and we're going to score at 1. Get the little tip. 1, 3 3/4, 4 3/4, and 7.5. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate it, and in this case I need to go counter because I didn't do this first. So I'm going to go 1, 3 3/4, and 4 3/4. So again, 1, 3 3/4, 4 3/4. That's on the 5 1/4 inch side. Then we're going to go 1, 3 3/4, 4 3/4, and 7.5. Okay, and that's all of our scoring. We're going to fold and burnish on all of our score lines. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to take and flip this to the inside, and I'm going to cut up on this is the top of our box, this one that has the 2 horizontal score lines, and the single horizontal score line here is the bottom. So I'm going to cut up on this first score line from the right, and then this 1/2 inch score here is our glue tab, so we're going to cut this off at an angle at that score line. And we're going to do the same thing at the top. I'm going to angle cut on this large rectangle section, and then I'm going to cut both of these smaller rectangles completely off. And that will leave us with a glue tab. All right? So then on the large rectangle, I'm cutting to the inside of the rectangle from that score line. I'm going to angle cut on the square. I'm going to move to the large rectangle again and cut to the inside of the score line. And then I'm going to angle cut on the square to remove that score line. I'm going to repeat that over here. I'm going to cut on the large rectangle to the inside of the score line, angle cut, and remove the score line. And then I'm going to angle cut on the outside edge. Okay, that'll just removes bulk and gives us a cleaner look when we put the box together. On the top now, I'm going to move to this first score line, and this time I'm going to cut to the inside of the square score line. Okay, and I'm going to go up to the second horizontal, or horizontal score line, and then I'm going to remove this whole section. And that's why I cut to the inside of the square rather than the inside of the large rectangle, because I'm going to remove this whole piece, and when I do that, it removes that score line entirely. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the inside of the large rectangle. I'm going to cut up the score line, and I'm going to move to the inside of the rectangle again, cut to the second horizontal score line. Now I need to remove these 2 small little sections here. So I'm going to cut at that first score line and remove that section. And I'm going to repeat that over here. Hello, Christopher Cruz. All right. And yes, Lynette, you can definitely use my punch. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to remove those score marks by cutting at an angle. We're going to do that to both sides. These are your tuck inside flaps, so you want to make sure you get those cut. All right, and now this looks almost like our template. The only thing left to do is to round the corners of our tuck flap. I'm going to do that with a corner rounder. Stampin' Up! Doesn't currently have one, so I'm using an old retired one. You can use what you have. Or if you don't have a corner rounder, you can take a very small, and I mean very small, angle cut. The smaller the cut, the better you are, because you want that tab to stay tucked inside your box. And if you get too large of a corner cut off, then it won't stay tucked. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I'm going to take this piece. Now, this is a piece of the Dandy Designs celebration paper that just went away yesterday, but I know that you all have a piece of that. So we're going to use that. If you don't, this is Granny Apple Green. You could use the 6x6 Brights collection and use one of the patterns in there. So I'm just going to put this on here. This piece is actually 2 5/8 by 2 5/8 inch square. Your finished size of your box is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 by 1 inch. So 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. You could do the 2 1/2 by 2 1/2, which is what we're putting over here. We're going to take that stamp. This is the back of our box. We're going to take that stamped 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 inch square that we did, and we're going to add this to our box. Right here. And now we're ready to start adhering. So we're going to take some tear and tape. And on this glue tab here on the outside, we're going to add a piece of tear and tape. Let's bring in our silicone mat so I don't get tear and tape. I'm going to put my tear and tape right up to the score line. I'm not going to go over, but right up to the edge. And then I'm just going to tear that off, give it a good burnish. Then I'm going to take and flip my box over. This is the front of our box, but the inside. So this is going to be the front tab. And I'm going to take a piece of tear and tape, and I am going to put that at the bottom edge of that flap. Okay, and again, I'm going to give that a good burnish so that doesn't close, so that doesn't come open on me. Okay, so now I'm going to take my take your pick tool, and I'm going to lift up on that release paper, and anything I have hanging over the edge, I'm going to take my finger and roll it back on itself. Then I'm going to flip this over, and on the second fold with that tab, this is the first fold, second fold, I'm going to fold that over, and then I'm going to fold this at the first score line on the left here, and I'm just going to bring that together flat. Now you could make a bunch of these boxes ahead of time and just store them like this and decorate them when you need them. That's the one nice thing about this type of box. Okay, now I'm going to take and tuck my flap in. Then oh, wait a minute. I forgot to do a key part here. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch punch, and I am going to give this a punch in the center for a finger tab. Just eyeballing this. And now I've got a finger tab, and I didn't get it right in the center, which is why I usually measure, because I'm not very good at eyeballing it. All right, so then we're going to tuck our sides in, tuck the back flap in, and we know it's the back because we just punched that out. And then we're going to remove our release paper, fold this up, square up those edges. I'm going to give that a good burnish. Okay, I've got that. Now, what fits inside of this? Well, I stumbled upon these little cup of gold candy bars. They're a thick, rich milk chocolate with a creamy, smooth center of almonds and coconut. And I thought they were perfect. So I'm just, in order to get these in, you do have to fold this packaging up. Okay, so just fold that packaging up as best you can, and those will fit right down in that box. Now make a liar out of me. Let's get that centered a little bit better. In the wrapping, we're going to put those in, fold that up, and there we go. Okay, so now we've got our box filled. And now all we need to do is add our decoration. So I'm just going to add some Tombow glue. You could pop this up on dimensionals, but I didn't want to fuss with trying to hide them. So I'm just going to add some Tombow liquid adhesive glue here around that center. And then I'm going to glue this right down on top of my box. I'm going to put a block on top just to make sure that it adheres really well. And that is our treat box. Cool, huh? So there we have it. Now you can also, with this, in addition to the cup of gold, I also purchased some of the Palmer milk chocolate coins. You can add the Palmer milk chocolate coins if you take this tag off. And then you can kind of finagle these coins in and drop that in your box, and you've got a box full of gold coins. Okay? So you have options. Both of these I got at Winco, local grocery store. All right, so there we have those, and that is done. I hope you liked that. Now we have about 10 minutes left. You tell me, do you want to see the second treat box that I made, or do you want to sign off and come back next week? Give me a quick in the comments, next project, or let's go. I'm going to clean up a little bit while you're deciding what you'd like. Oh, second box. Hello, Kelly. I didn't know you were on, but good timing. Second box. All right. I'm going to go for it. The second box I have all the decorations done for. We just have to put the box together. I've done a lot of the pre-work to make it very quick. You are sneaky. Okay. So here is the second box, which I absolutely love. Takes very little paper. It's real easy to put together. You'll need 2 pieces of shaded spruce. One's for the bottom and one's for the top. And this piece of shaded spruce, I randomly stamped that Clover bunch in the same shaded spruce. This piece is, let's see, this bottom piece is 3 7/16. I know that's a weird number, but 7/16 is 1/16 below 3.5. And then, so it's 3 7/16 by 4 7/16. So you're 1/16 below 4.5. Okay, so I'll show you that on the trimmer real quick. So the 7/6, you've got the half right here, this long half mark right there is 3.5. You want to back that up to the very next tiny little tick mark right here. So this is 3.5, and this is 3 7/16 right there, okay? And the same on the 4 7/16. This is the 1/2 inch, this long piece right here, and then you move it back just to the 16th. And the reason that we're doing that is so that the bottom will fit inside the top of the box, okay? So again, 3 7/16 by 4 7/16. And then the top piece is 3 inches by 4. Okay, so let's grab the Simply Scored tool again. The scoring on these are really easy. On the bottom, we're going to score on all 4 sides at 1 inch. Okay, 1 inch all the way around. And that's it. Now on the top piece, this 3 7/16 by 4 7/16, we're going to score at 3/4 of an inch all the way around. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now we're just going to fold and burnish on all of our score lines. Oh, thank you, Laura. I'm so glad you love them. I had a great time with this Lucky Clover bundle. Again, this was one of those things that I struggled. I was like, what am I going to do? And then once I got started, I ran. I had so much fun. And I made a whole bunch of these boxes. I've got like 13 boxes made, 14 boxes made now. Okay, so we've got those. Now for these, I'm going to take on the long sides. I'm going to put the long sides toward me, the long score. And I'm going to cut again on the rectangle to the inside of the score line on both sides up to that first horizontal. And I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to take a deeper angle on this outside. Okay? I'm going to remove the score line on the inside and again a deeper angle on the outside. And then I'm going to turn it 180 degrees and I'm going to repeat that. Cutting to the inside of the large rectangle on both sides. Cut out the score line next to the rectangle and take a deeper cut, angle cut on the outside edge. Okay, deeper cut. There we go. That's what your bottom should look like. And we're going to repeat those steps on the top of the box as well. Small cut, deeper on the outside, inside the large rectangle, small angle, deeper on the outside angle. Okay, 180 degree turn, cut up the large rectangle, small angle cut the square, large deep cut on the outside, and repeat on the opposite end. All right, that's what we've got. Okay, now we need our tear and tape. We're going to turn it over to the outside of the box. And again, you could use Tombow here if you'd like. I'm going to put my tear and tape right up to the edge of my score on both sides here. And then I'm going to get control of my tear and tape here. I put too much out. Then I'm going to give it just a little bit of tape on this edge, just so that when I put that down, it doesn't come up on the inside of the box. Okay, so again, along the score line, on both sides, and at the edge. All right, now I'm going to burnish my tear and tape down, and I'm going to grab my take your pick tool. I'm going to remove all of my tear and tape all at the same time. I found that the easiest way to do it. I don't like to try and get my tear and tape backings off of the little edges once I've sealed the other two ends down. So I'm just going to remove it all at once. With my take your pick tool. And then I'm going to fold down my edge, my tab here. I'm going to bring my cut edge up to the corner of the score line there, and I'm going to press. And I'm going to do that on all four corners. Cut edge to the score line, cut edge to the corner score line, and then I'm going to bring this one in and cut edge to the corner score line. I'm going to burnish on the inside of those tabs with my bone folder, and I'm going to give that a really good burnish so that that holds well, and there's the bottom of my box. Okay, now we're going to repeat that for the top. Tear and tape along the edge. Now with this box, with this part, you don't necessarily need to even add this little bit of score tape if you don't want to. It is such a small amount. Okay, flip that around. It just keeps everything neat and tidy on the inside of the box so nothing catches. Okay, now I got my tear tape a little far away on the edge there. We'll see how that works. I'm going to take that off. Release papers. I'm going to burnish that down really well. Remove this and this. Okay. There we go. And again, cut side, bring it to the corner score. Line that up really well. You want a nice square corner on the box, and repeat on all four corners. And then burnish with your bone folder. Okay, then you can go ahead and put the top of your box on the bottom of your box. It's a nice tight fit, it's not coming off. With that 3/4 inch top, you have the room to pull this off, but we are not going to stop here. This is just the basis of our box. Okay, so then to this, I've taken the Something Fancy dies, Oh, this isn't them. Hang on. Let me grab them. They're in another bin, actually. Okay, so we've got the Something Fancy dies. And I've taken this largest of this, I'm going to call this the scallop tag. So I've taken this one and I've cut 2 in shaded spruce. Okay, so we've got 2 of those. And then I took the next size down and I've cut 1 in soft seafoam. Okay. And I have a tag. I've got a piece of basic white. This is 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to die cut with this. I'm hoping this is gonna, nope, that's not gonna work. We're gonna take, I don't know why I used that tiny little piece. We're gonna take this scrap here and we're gonna die cut this after we stamp. Okay? And then I took the gnomes, the Friendly Gnome stamp set, and I've used the one that has the little flowers in his beard. And again, this is another little piece of the Dandy Designs. I stamped just the top of the gnome on the Dandy Designs paper and I fussy cut that out. I stamped the nose on a piece of basic white and I fussy cut that out. And then I stamped the gnome and colored him with Stampin' Blends. And I've colored his shirt in light shaded spruce, his overall thingies in dark shaded spruce. I use the Natural Tones SU300, which is part of the medium dark Natural Tones blend pack for his shoes. And the flowers in his beard are done in dark Parakeet Party with a dark shaded spruce center. Okay? And I used 2, you can see there's some dimension on his nose. I used 2 glue dots stacked on top of each other to get that dimension. Okay? Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's do our stamping really quickly. We don't have much. And we only need the shaded spruce. Uh-oh. Are you guys still going? Am I still going? Okay, good. For some reason, my signal on my laptop quit. I hope that wasn't the case for you. So with this Sending Smiles, you get a sentiment that says, all the good luck your way. So what I have done is I have taken that sentiment and I'm just going to ink up good luck your way. So I'm going to line my stamp up on my grid paper here. Okay. And put it on my block. And then you can mask it off, or I'm just going to take and put down good luck your way in the ink. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp this down here. And we're going to grab the mini cut and emboss machine. And we're going to bring that in. And what did I do with that die? It's not here. Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Oh my gosh, panic. I set it down. Okay. So we're just going to take our mini cut and emboss machine. And our good luck your way. And I'm going to line that up. And I'm going to be brave. I'm going to run that through. And now our sentiment is ready to go. Okay, so we've got that. Let's move these out of the way. Put that back on our magnet board so we don't lose that. All right, let's set all of these aside. Here's the measurements if you need them. All right, so now we're going to take our box and we're going to put liquid glue over the top of our box. And then I'm going to turn my piece upside down so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to line up the corners of my box with the scallop corners here, and then I'm going to make sure that they line up on the bottom. So these 4 points, 1, 2, 3, and 4, what I'm lining up. And then I'm going to give that a good press. My bone folder. I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to repeat with the bottom of my box. This time I'm going to use the top out. And I'm going to line those pieces up so that my top and my bottom are equal. Okay? And give that a press. My bone folder. Just so that glue adheres. Okay? Now I'm going to set this aside for just a minute. I'm going to bring in my gnome and my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I want the big ones. And I'm just going to put 3 Stampin' Dimensionals here. And these gnomes have dies that coordinate, so that's how I cut out my gnome, is with my dies. And what did I do with my tweezers? Because we all know I can't work without these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my gnome's feet right down on the edge of my seafoam piece here. So it looks like he's standing at the edge of the grass. Okay. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to add this to the top of my box, and I'm going to make sure that I've got the top, and that's going to be the one that has the shamrocks. Okay. And I'm just going to take some liquid glue here. I'm going to center that up as best I can. Put that down. I'm going to take my good luck your way, and I'm going to put this on flat. And because it's going to stick out on either side, I'm just going to take my Stampin' Seal and put in the center. And then I'm going to add this, making sure that my hat, the tip of the hat, does not cover my sentiment. Okay, and then we have one last thing to do, and I had not grabbed it, so let me grab it really quickly. I need the Parakeet Party Metallic Ribbon. And we're going to add some of this. I'm going to use my bow jig here. I'm going to take some of the Parakeet Party ribbon, and I'm going to make a double bow. So I'm going to start with this on my left. I'm going to wrap my ribbon twice without turning the ribbon. I want the ribbon to be flat. Move it to the left side. Then I'm going to take this overlap, push it through, over the top, again, over and through the loop. And then I'm going to make sure that that's in the center, and then give it a good tug. Not too much of a tug, because trust me, you can break the ribbon.
I'm not sure I understand.
That's because I'm not talking to you, Siri. Okay, so now we've got that. And now I'm going to take a glue dot. And I'm going to bring back in my box. Take my glue dots and put my bow to my glue dot. And my glue dot's a little big, so I'm going to take my finger and push it onto itself on the back. And then I'm just going to place this right up at the top, just like that. Spread out my loops, and there is my box. Okay, so what fits in our little box here? Again, you can take some of those gold coins. You need to use the smaller of the quarter size ones. The dollar size, you can put one of the dollar size in and then the quarters. But I put the quarters in first, then put one of the large ones, and then put your top on. It will also fit 2 of the Kit Kat miniatures. Hershey's Nuggets, Hershey's miniatures. What else did I put in that last night? Okay. Anyway, those are our projects. Hershey's Kisses will fit in there. You cannot fit fun-size candy bars. They're too long. I tried that last night. But any of the smaller kind, like Rolos, because I made it 1 inch thick, you can get candies that are up to 1 inch thick, and you have 2.5. What is this? Is that 2.5? Let me look at my, where's my template? The finished size of the box is 2.5 by 1.5 by 1. So you've got 2.5 inches here, 1.5 inches across, and 1 inch deep. So any candy that's no longer than 2.5 inches will fit in here, and 1 inch thick. So, but it can't be more than 1.5 inches wide. Fun size candy bars are a little bit over the 2.5 inches, unless you get the little Kit Kat miniatures. Hershey's miniatures, those kinds of things will fit in here. Okay. All right, those are our projects for tonight. Let's bring back in that card. Here we go. There we are. That's our projects for tonight. I hope you liked them. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you back here next week. And my plan for next week is the Easter Bunny bundle. So join me back here for a card and another 3D project. And have a great week. Good night, everybody. You're welcome, Kelly.